Hello. When I first laid eyes on you, I was amazed that I could even see you at all. You were holding a little turtle and calling it Michelangelo, which I took as a reference to the Ninja Turtles. You flipped your long brown hair over your shoulder and knelt down to set the turtle gently on the ground, so excited to watch it teeter over the grass. That moment brought back memories of my own childhood when I used to play with my cat in much the same way. From the tiny window of my prison, I observed every step of your childhood. I saw you learning how to ride a bike, attending your first day of school, and meeting your first true friend, Brenda. I watched you on your first day of middle school, wearing that adorable uniform. I saw you win the science fair, proudly carrying home a trophy shaped like a cell. You radiated so much happiness back then. As time passed, I witnessed you growing up. Your body matured, you became taller and thinner, but your face remained just as lovely as ever. I noticed how people began looking at you differently, the envious gazes from girls and the starstruck expressions from boys. As all of this unfolded before me, I felt myself changing as well. I was getting older, and my body was growing weaker. I became disenchanted, hurt, and I lost any hope of escaping my nightmare. My only comfort was that window into your world. Living vicariously through your joys and sorrows was the only thing that kept me going. You had no idea how many times you saved me from despair, from awful thoughts, and from the constant agony I endured. I remember the day a good-looking young man arrived in a red convertible to take you out. Your mother was clearly unhappy about it, but deep down, she knew she had to let you start living your own life. You left the house in a beautiful floral dress that looked just like the flowers of summertime. You didn't come home until late that night, holding a stuffed bear and some leftover cotton candy. I imagined you had gone to the fair, enjoying the rides and making wonderful memories. I felt such joy knowing your first date had brought you happiness. I watched the magical moment when he blushed and leaned in to kiss you. Your cheeks turned so red I instantly realized I had witnessed your first kiss. I closed my eyes, trying to imagine how that must have felt for you. For a brief second, I imagined it was me wearing that dress, grinning with excitement, with butterflies in my stomach and a kiss on my lips. But I was genuinely happy for you. I often wanted to express my gratitude to you for letting me feel alive again, for allowing me to dream once more. But I could never bring myself to speak to you. I didn't have the courage or the words. If only you knew about my window. One day, I heard him, the man I am forced to live with, talking about you. He had noticed you. I listened to him complain that pretty girls like you should not show off their legs. The moment he said that, I realized what would happen next. I understood that you would become his next victim. I knew I had to do something to protect you. This was finally my opportunity to thank you. I couldn't let you suffer the same fate as me. I suppose I was fortunate in some way. I cannot say why he kept me alive this long. Most other girls he brought here disappeared, never to be seen again. But for some reason, he kept me here year after year. Perhaps he noticed I still had a spark inside me, thanks to you. All the other girls were already dead inside long before he ended their lives in front of me, taking pride in his cruelty. But I was different. You kept me going. I cherished my little window, a crack high up in the basement wall that has become my world. He despised the fact that he couldn't break my spirit, but he never knew about that small crack. That is why he kept me around, to see how long I would last. It is a perverse game he plays, but I have survived this long because of you. But then he noticed you. At that moment, I knew with absolute certainty what fate awaited you if he ever laid his hands on you. Whatever strength I have managed to save up, I am gathering now to finally take action. I want to say thank you. If you are reading this letter, it means I followed through. I summoned all the courage I had left and acted on my plan to escape at last. My hope is to make him believe I am dead. I am not sure if the plan will work, but if it does, and he comes to pick up my body, I will kick him as hard as I can in the most vulnerable place. Then I will grab his keys, escape as quickly as possible, and drop this letter in your mailbox. I suspect he will chase after me and may catch me in the end, since I am so frail and weak, barely human anymore. If that happens, I have been ready to leave this world for quite some time. I doubt anyone will notice or hear anything on this deserted street. Sometimes it feels like you are the only living soul here. But as long as you find this letter, I will know I did what I could, and that you will be safe. Monsters do exist. The one who kept me is named Ryan Morehouse. He is your neighbor, living right across from your front door. I have been locked in his basement for so many years that I have lost count, but I believe I must be in my late 20s by now. He kidnapped me when I was 15. My parents surely searched for me. Please do not tell them about me. I do not want them to know about the horrors I suffered, or to see what has become of me. All I ask is that you report him to the authorities. The only way to stop his wickedness and perverse mind is for him to be locked away in prison. They will discover bodies hidden inside the basement walls. I have grown used to the smell, but others will notice it immediately when they come down here. Many young girls are entombed in the walls of this basement. Please ask the police to treat their remains with care. They were good people. They became my companions and friends during these long, dark years. Above all, I want to thank you again. You are the only reason I survived this long. You were my light in the darkness. And now, because of you, I am finally trying to escape this place, this misery. Even if it means I will not survive, I am at peace knowing I tried, with all my love. There was a young couple who had just gotten married. The wedding was wonderful, and they took many photos so that they would remember the happy occasion forever. For their honeymoon, they traveled to France and stayed in a dark old mansion. The first night, the young woman felt scared, and despite her husband's attempts to reassure her, she could not sleep. To clear her head, she decided to go downstairs to the library and read a little. She selected a book at random from the dusty old shelves and opened it. Inside, there were only pictures of her. The pictures were from her wedding. The woman was shocked at first, but then she thought about it. Her husband must have put together a wedding album as a surprise for her. He was probably planning to give it to her the next day. She flipped through the pictures in the album, her mind going back to how wonderful the wedding day had been. When she reached the end of the album, there were more pages with pictures, but they were not of the wedding. In fact, she wondered what these strange pictures were doing in the album. It seemed as if they had been stapled in. The first page showed a picture of a woman standing in a library, holding a book in her hands. On the second page, there was another picture of the woman, but this time, the library door was open. Feeling a little uneasy, she turned to look at the door. It was closed. On the third page of the book, the door was wide open and a faceless man was standing behind the woman. Again, she glanced over her shoulder, but the door was closed. Flipping to the last page of the book, she saw that, in the picture, the faceless man was standing right behind the woman, his arm raised and clutching a knife. The next morning, the husband woke up and could not find his wife. He decided to search the house, but when he got to the library, he found the door wouldn't open. It was stuck. Putting all of his weight behind it, he pushed against the door with his shoulder, and eventually, it burst open. Behind the door, he found his wife lying in a pool of blood. There was a knife sticking out of her back. There was a young boy named Kenneth who lived with his parents. When his father got a new job in the city, the family moved into the top-floor apartment of an old residential building. Every evening, when Kenneth came home from school, he had to take a long elevator ride to the 25th floor. After a few days, he began to get a horrible feeling whenever he stepped into the elevator. He couldn't quite explain why, but for some reason, he had the distinct impression that he was being watched. He also thought he could hear strange whispers and mutterings as the elevator ascended to the top floor. One evening, when he arrived home from school, he saw some other boys who lived in the same building. They were a few years older than him, and he noticed that they avoided the elevator altogether. He caught up with them as they walked up the stairs. When he asked the boys why they weren't taking the elevator, they told him about some rumors that had been circulating among the kids who lived in the building. Apparently, all of the other children who lived there thought that the elevator was haunted. They said they heard disturbing shrieks and moans coming from the elevator shaft. They also told him about a kid who had gone missing in the residential building only a few months before he and his parents moved in. Kenneth had a sinking feeling in his stomach as he listened to the story the older boys told him. They said the kid had mysteriously disappeared and nobody was able to find him. He was still listed as a missing person. The adults thought he must have been kidnapped, and the police were still investigating. But the kids suspected that it had something to do with the old elevator. That was why they avoided using it whenever possible. When Kenneth reached the top of the stairs, he ran into his apartment and breathlessly told his mother about the unsettling stories the older boys had shared with him. She just laughed and dismissed them as the typical rumors and legends that kids and teenagers always like to use to scare each other. His mother said that there was no such thing as a haunted elevator, and it was childish to believe such outlandish tales. Still, Kenneth couldn't help being terrified of the old elevator. He took to using the stairs as much as possible, even though it was a very long climb, and it left him tired and out of breath. The only time he would use the elevator was when his mother or father were with him. He figured that nothing would happen to him as long as one of his parents was there to protect him. One evening, Kenneth came home late after football practice. He was deathly tired and was really dreading having to climb the stairs. He walked into the lobby of the residential building and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw his mother standing there, with her back to him, waiting for the elevator. The doors opened and she stepped inside. Kenneth jumped in after her. The elevator doors closed, and that's when he realized that the light wasn't working. They were in complete darkness. Kenneth broke out into a cold sweat. They started to go up. In the darkness, the frightened boy heard an eerie chuckling sound. "Mom, did you hear that?" he asked nervously. As the elevator ascended, the chuckling grew louder. It sounded like evil laughter. "That's the sound I told you about, Mom," he said, shaking with fear. A chill ran down his spine when he heard a deep voice reply. "You really believed I was your mother?"